There we are. Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. That's right. It's
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Thank you all for tuning in. My name is Davon Reeves. I think I'm on brand today. I'm a hotelpreneur. Okay. I'm co-owner of three different hotels across two different states. And I try to give y'all information on different things. And then so today we are talking about EQRP. And so I'm not even gonna try to explain it because Joe is better at it. So I'm going to introduce Joe Landon with EQRP, and he's actually going to explain what I do know. It is a form of uh, using your retirement to invest. And so
That's
one
right.
of the things I love to invest in is real estate. And that's actually how I got introduced to using your retirement in real estate. But then later on, as I started to get more and more into real estate investing, then I heard about EQRP from actually one of my first investors, Aquania Escarnay. She told me about using EQRP to invest in real estate. So anyway, enough of me. I am going to pass the baton to Joel, and he's going to explain what an EQRP is, how you can use it to invest. And there we go. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us, Joel.
Yeah, thank you so much, Davon. I appreciate the time and opportunity to share with your audience something special. I know that there are going to be people on this recording listening today that are familiar with self-directing retirement funds. So it could be a little bit of a refresher for some of you. Some of you I know are actually investing with self-directed retirement funds. I think that's so exciting. So hopefully I'll be able to share some tips and some ideas to help you maximize your retirement account. But I also know that there's people here who have never heard of this concept. So I'm looking forward to sharing this content with you. I do have some slides that I'll put up here in just a second, just to help illustrate the message and keep me on track. But I do hope that this first session here is just an opportunity for you to get familiar with what we're all about at EQRP, how to self-direct your retirement account, maybe even some of the next steps that you can take in your journey. But more importantly, I do want us to have an opportunity one-on-one to connect offline. So at the end of my slides, you're going to notice I'm going to have a thank you slide. It'll have my contact information. But in this case, I've actually put up a QR code that's tied to Davon. And what you'll notice is if you scan that QR code, it's going to take you to a landing page with Davon on there. It's going to have our booking link. So you'll be able to book a time with me one-on-one over Zoom right then and there. In addition to that, it'll also have a form that you can fill out if you want more information to read on your own. We'll send you a virtual copy of our EQRP book. It's about 15 pages long, and it really breaks the details down for you so that you can be prepared for a one-on-one conversation with me later on. So stay tuned for that final slide at the end. I think what I'd like to do is just kick it off by sharing a couple of slides like I mentioned. So let me get this ready here for y'all. Okay, we should be ready to rock and roll. I love the title of this slide. Anytime I talk about self-directing retirement funds, I always like to think back to the power of unlocking retirement funds that are accessible to you. So if you're an individual right now that has an IRA, maybe you've got some funds that are tied to an IRA in a savings account, or maybe even an IRA brokerage account with Fidelity or Charles Schwab. Maybe you're somebody who has an old 401k that you've left with an employer that you're no longer working for. Maybe you switched jobs and you rolled over an amount from an old employer to a new employer. Or maybe you had some government contracting and you had a TSP that you contributed to, and you're deciding to leave or you've already left. Those funds are totally eligible for you to move into an account that you can now invest in real assets. And I'll cover a lot of that here in just a second. So if your ears perked up when you heard 401k, IRA, TSP, 403b, all of those retirement funds in those accounts are eligible to move into a self-directed account that we're going to help you out with. So let me break down a couple of concepts here and a couple of thoughts that are tied to unlocking that power. But before we even do that, I just want to express why people choose to actually self-direct their retirement funds. So first and foremost, people are looking for liquidity. They find an awesome opportunity to invest with Davon in real estate. She's got a hotel that's, available for you to commit to as an investor, but maybe you don't have a lot of cash sitting in your savings account that you have to invest in an opportunity that you really want to be a part of. Fortunately, we help a lot of people realize that there is opportunity in a self-directed retirement account. So those funds that you've kind of forgotten about that are just sitting there in a old retirement account, you can pull that and unlock the power and invest with Davon. So it's a really powerful tool when we think about liquidity for these private placement opportunities. A lot of people want control over their retirement funds. They get to the point where they're sick and tired of having their funds invested in one asset class, like the capital markets or stocks in the public sector. They want to invest in assets that they can actually see, that they can actually have equity ownership in. And so they reach out to us. They reach out to a company like EQRP and they say, hey, show me how to self-direct my retirement funds. I'm sick of the old way. I want more control. I want to be the decision maker of what I want to invest in. And of course, people choose to self-direct, like I mentioned, because they have that opportunity to invest in alternative assets. We'll cover what some of those alternative assets look like. And of course, the diversification, like I mentioned, and the opportunity to achieve higher returns. A lot of individuals will actually use a self-directed retirement account as a tax strategy. Maybe you're a small business individual, or maybe you do some contract work on the side via 1099, and you're looking for ways to defer some of the taxable income that you have. So they'll actually use self-directed retirement accounts to lower their taxable income. So if you are somebody who, can see, these points here about liquidity and tax advantages, and it stands out to you, something that you want to do, something you want to take advantage of, this could very well be a great option for you. Let's break it down. Maybe you are somebody that wants to do something like this, like I've mentioned, but you've got to know first what you have available to you. And so there are two types of self-directed retirement accounts available to individuals. One of them being the self-directed IRA. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this type of a self-directed retirement account. It's really common. In fact, it resonates with people who have IRAs. And the best part is everybody is eligible for a self-directed IRA. Whether you have earned income this year, or maybe you have qualified funds in an IRA or a 401k, you're eligible. And it allows you to make contributions even to this self-directed retirement account each year. This is even from W-2 income. So you don't have to be a small business individual to make contributions to a self-directed IRA. And of course, it does allow you to invest in a broad range of alternative assets. So this is an ideal account, or an ideal retirement account, for somebody that has existing qualified funds that they want to move into an account to go invest in alternative assets. There are some, nuances and some details behind the scene that we at EQRP know how to manage. So we have a trust company that we work with to set this up. We create an LLC that is the actual investment vehicle itself, held within the IRA that you'll invest through. It's commonly known as checkbook control when we talk about that LLC that we create for you. On the other side, there is another type of retirement account that a lot of clients opt for because of the benefits and advantages that it has when you compare it to a self-directed IRA. So a solo 401k was originally designed to help small business owners make contributions to a retirement account that otherwise they would not have had as a benefit, like most people do with a W-2 job. So it was created for the small business individual. However, people who have business activity on the side, even if they're W-2, can be eligible for a solo 401k. We have a lot of clients that engage in our affiliate program. We have a really strong program that we've developed to help people engage in business activity throughout the year so that they can be eligible for a solo 401k. And the reason why they want it, the reason why they engage in the affiliate activity, or maybe they do have some 1099 work on the side that they do throughout the year, it's because of some of the provisions that come along with it. So not only can they take existing retirement funds and invest it through a solo 401k, but now they've got a loan provision so they can borrow from their solo 401k, just like we could from our W-2 401k. There's also a UDFI exemption, which is so cool and very specific to the types of investments that Dave Vaughn offers. You know, there's a lot of debt leveraged real estate investments out there that we want to be a part of. And when you use a self-directed IRA, there is a tax on your gains, but if you use a solo 401k, there's an exemption. And so if you use those qualified funds through this type of a retirement account to invest in debt leveraged real estate, your gains are not going to be taxed via UBIT. So in fact, we have a lot of clients that will move from a self-directed IRA to a solo 401k so that they can actually have that UDFI exemption. And that process of basically rolling over that one asset that's debt leveraged real estate from a self-directed IRA to a solo 401k is done by us. And we do it really well. It's an in-kind rollover, and it's very simple. So as you're kind of thinking through and processing, which type of self-directed retirement account is, specific to you or more beneficial for you, loop us into that conversation, loop us into the thought process, because we'll help out. We've had a lot of clients that, maybe they want to start with a self-directed IRA, but then they shift over to a solo 401k after we have conversations with them because it just makes sense for what they're trying to do. So before I move on to some of these other details and dig deeper into some of the benefits and features, I just want to answer maybe a thought that some of you are having that does come up after they hear about, okay, I get it. There's two types of self-directed retirement accounts. Yes, I have funds sitting in an old IRA. What's next? Well, what we do as the approved plan document provider is we create the actual self-directed retirement account for you. We create the documents. We put you down as the decision maker, as the beneficiary of those funds. And then we also set up an account, a deposit account, where your funds are going to be moved from the old custodian to your new EQRP retirement account. It's actually through that deposit account where you're going to move funds back and forth. So you connect with us, we create either a self-directed IRA or a solo 401k for you. Then we work directly with the releasing custodian of your old retirement funds. We work with them so that we could effectively do a rollover without creating a taxable event. We never want anybody to suffer the consequences of a tax burden by distributing all of those retirement funds and then trying to place them into a new retirement account that we create for you. So we use the direct rollover method. And we know how to do that really well, and we're really effective with it. So we move those funds, and that usually takes about 7 business days. Now they're in your self-directed retirement account that you have total control over. And it's at that point that you get to choose what you want to invest in. Ideally, it's with Dave Vaughn. So we'll work with you, we'll work with Dave Vaughn, and we'll make sure that the names are correct and that the signing authority is correct on your agreement with Dave Vaughn. And then we'll even help you get funds from your new self-directed retirement account to Dave Vaughn's funds. So now you're an equity investor, and the rest is history. You let Dave Vaughn do her thing as the operator, you're the investor, and we keep your plan compliant. Just a couple of highlights I want to touch on. I mentioned earlier that people will use a self-directed account to leverage some of the tax advantages that go along with it. Individuals are looking for a way to grow their retirement portfolio or even grow their net worth through various methods. And with the self-directed retirement account, you could grow tax deferred. And it's hard to do that with any other type of investment vehicle. But fortunately, with the retirement vehicle, you can grow your portfolio and defer the taxes. There's so many taxable events throughout the year when you're investing in alternative assets. Not so much when you're using a retirement account, because you can just defer the taxes later. And maybe that makes sense for you and your tax strategy. The other option is the tax-free withdrawal. So of course, most people understand they can invest Roth money, which is money that's essentially been taxed, through a retirement account, so that ultimately when they distribute, everything that they've earned or grown over time is now tax-free at distribution. And people will play with both of those. They'll either play with the tax-free at distribution investments in their retirement account, or even the tax deferred at the same time. And they'll work with their tax strategist so that they know that they're paying the least amount of tax as possible, whether that's today or even later on in retirement. Reducing taxable income through contributions is super helpful for small business individuals, or even if you're somebody who's W-2 and you're just looking for another way to lower your taxable income and you've maxed out 401k contributions with your company, use a self-directed IRA. You can make contributions every year to lower your taxable income. I talked a little bit about UBIT. That was that UDFI exemption that comes along with the solo 401k. Super powerful tool, again, like I mentioned, and it's really only applicable to the solo 401k, not the self-directed IRA. All right, this is just a quick side-by-side comparison to help people see that there are some differences in contribution amounts. There's differences with the loan option, like I talked about, and of course, the UDFI exemption. So when we have a conversation with you one-on-one, we do a lot of fact-finding. We ask lots of questions early on just to determine what might be the right type of self-directed retirement account for you. Taking a look at some examples of individuals who are using retirement accounts can help put this into perspective for you as an investor. What I did is I decided to put up 3 investor samples. Investor A, who uses a traditional 401k. There's a lot of people who are listening right now, or might be listening to the recording, who are really familiar with company 401ks. And you can see Investor A makes their contributions every single year. They are limited to mutual funds or stocks that are associated with their company 401k. There's not a whole lot of diversification. Of course, within those stocks or those mutual funds, there are some different asset classes within there, but there's nothing like having direct ownership or equity in an opportunity that you find in the alternative asset space, just like what Davon offers. Going back to Investor A again, they really don't have that access to alternative investments, nor do they really have tax advantaged growth strategies like a conversion. You know, it's not every day that you work for a company where you can actually convert some of your 401k while you're in service. You have to wait until you leave your employer. So think about that as you're, exploring tax strategies and looking at possibly doing conversions later on in life. Of course, fees are typically passed to the employees. They're usually really hard to see, but you can dig in and you can really see, what does it cost me every year to participate in my company 401k? All right, so Investor B is a little different. They're using the solo 401k option, which again, I'd say 8 out of 10 of our clients are using just because of all of the value associated with it. In this case, Investor B is making contributions. They are a small business owner, it looks like, so they're making contributions with their self-employed income up to $20,500. Little bonus there. As an employer, because they are self-employed, they decided to take a nice little deduction for their business and contribute $25,000 profit sharing to themselves in their own solo 401k. Now they've got $55,000 in working capital that they can invest in Davon's next deal. Of course, with Investor B, they're investing in real estate. Maybe they're exploring some other type of private equity options. Heck, they're even looking at metals to hedge a portion of their portfolio. And of course, Investor B is fully aware that they have the UDFI exemption. So no unrelated business income tax on their gains like they get with the self-directed IRA. And in their case, they're using the Roth provision to actually make contributions that are Roth contributions And heck, maybe they're actually doing some conversions within the plan as well throughout the year. All right, we've got Investor C as the last example. They're self-directing. They're not missing out on that opportunity to invest in alternative assets. Contributions look a little differently for this individual because, of course, it's capped at $7,000. But fortunately, they're using a self-directed IRA to roll over existing retirement funds from an old company plan. All right, we're kind of wrapping up these slides here, but I figured what I'd do is just highlight the variety of what individuals love to invest in the alternative asset space. Let's talk about real estate. Devon is obviously somebody who puts right in front of you on a silver platter opportunity. So getting connected with someone like Devon and understanding the economics of her opportunities now gives you the chance to take existing retirement funds and plug them into something special like real estate. And of course, you can see this is just a short list of opportunities to invest in alternative assets. We could go on and on, but at least you get a little bit of an idea of what you can invest in with retirement funds. All right, I figured what I do is round it out with a little FAQ. I do lots of webinars and workshops and Q&As face-to-face. These are probably the 5 top questions that are asked. So I figured I'd knock these out right now for y'all. Can I roll over my existing 401k into a self-directed account? This is kind of a 2-part answer here. The first part is, if you've severed your employment with your employer where you were contributing to a 401k, the answer is yes. You can take those existing funds that you worked hard for, that you contributed over the last 5-10 years, and you can move them into a self-directed account. However, in a lot of cases, if you're still employed with that company, and even though you've been making contributions for 10 years, but you've yet to sever your employment, in most cases, you would not be eligible. It isn't until you actually sever your employment that the company says, okay, you're now free to go ahead and move these funds at your free will. There are some cases, however, where employers actually write it into their plan. Hey, if you've worked here for 5 years, Mr. or Mrs. Employee, you can go ahead and roll over those funds while you're still employed. So I think the big question you need to ask your HR, or you need to ask the person that you work for, is simply, hey, can I actually roll money out of my 401k while I'm still employed? Is that even an option? And they'll give you a straight answer for sure. If you need guidance, we have those conversations with employers, with HR departments, administrators all the time to help you out. What are the fees associated with self-directed accounts? They do vary, and it varies based on support. We are a very high-touch support company. We want to make sure that everybody is maximizing their self-directed retirement accounts. So we do our very best to make sure you have all of the information, all of the education you need to be successful. We charge $2,000. It's a flat rate fee. Was just talking to a client this morning who does business with another firm. They charge based on assets. So for us, it doesn't matter how many assets you might have in your plan, it's $2,000 flat rate. That's actually a cost that can be pulled from your existing retirement fund. So we have a lot of clients who will essentially reimburse themselves. They'll pay out of pocket once we roll over funds. As an approved plan expense, you can just reimburse yourself from the funds that you roll over. We do that all the time for clients. Okay, are there restrictions on the types of assets I can invest in? There are. So we'll break it down like this. There's actually disqualified individuals. If I'm self-directing my retirement account, I can't invest with or in anybody in my direct lineage. So if my wife was actually managing a hotel syndication, I could not invest in her hotel syndication because she's the decision maker. She can influence the well-being of this investment. The same goes for anybody who's in my direct lineage. So that could be my parents or my children. They're off limits. However, if my brother was running the hotel syndication, I can go invest as a limited partner with him as the GP because he's not in my direct lineage. So really unique rule. I couldn't invest in anything that I operate either. If I have a small business and I want to pump some capital into it for my self-directed funds, I couldn't do that. It's disqualified. Lastly, are there any assets that you can't invest in? And there are. Those are collectibles. So if it was artwork or if it was a collectible car, those are off limits. All right, last two questions. Can I invest in my own business? Pretty much already answered that. The answer is no. Lastly, what kind of self-employed activities do I need to be engaged in to qualify? So the rule is that you have to have business activity. You don't necessarily need to generate revenue. You don't have to have an established corporation. We have sole proprietor clients all the time that do a little bit of 1099 work throughout the year that totally qualify. And they don't have a registered business. They just use their own social security number as their tax ID number because it just makes sense for their business. Or if you are a small business owner, maybe you and your spouse run a business, it's an S Corp, and you generate substantial revenue throughout the year, great. That's another qualification. You would be eligible for a solo 401k. If you're W-2 and you haven't really ever engaged in self-employed activity, talk to us about our affiliate program. It's a great program. It allows you to engage in a little bit of affiliate marketing throughout the year. Some of you are already doing that with other companies, and we pay you for it. You don't necessarily have to get paid to be eligible for a solo 401k. It's more of a perk if you're successful with our affiliate program. But those are just some of the types of business activities that people engage in to be eligible for a solo 401k. All right, so I know we're getting close to the end here with time. I think we ended right on time. There's the QR code that you guys now have access to so that you can get in touch with me. Scan it if you have a minute. Like I said, it'll give you access to my calendar directly so we can have a conversation. It'll also give you the chance to gain access to our book summary so that you could learn a little bit more before your conversation. A couple of logistics. Our company is based out of Alabama. That's where our home office is. I actually have the privilege of working remotely. I live in Utah, northern Utah. If there's anybody that's listening from there who has ever visited, we just moved back as a family in December because we missed it so much. This is where we're from. This is where our family is located. So hopefully you can understand why we work remotely. But our entire team is based out of Alabama. If you join EQRP, you're going to get to know them really well because you'll have an account manager and you'll work with a lot of our team there as well. But with that being said, Devon, I know I covered a lot. I'm totally
No,
open
you
for
did.
questions.
No, you did. You did. No, this is great. Thank you. I appreciate it, Joe. I guess the biggest question that I get a lot is what's the difference between an EQRP and a self-directed IRA?
Okay, good question. So EQRP is actually just a marketing term for our company. So when Damian Lupo created our company, he wanted to essentially find a name that resonates with the self-directed community. And so EQRP stands for Enhanced Qualified Retirement Plan. So an EQRP isn't actually any type of retirement account. The solo 401k and the self-directed IRA are the two retirement accounts that exist that people can use. And the beauty is we offer both of them.
And so what's the difference from like a tax perspective? I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
For sure. So when it comes to a tax perspective, the biggest is the UBIT tax. So people who use a solo 401k with debt leveraged real estate, their gains in this situation are not taxed. Whereas with the self-directed IRA, those gains are going to be taxed if it's invested in debt leveraged real estate. That's why a lot of people gravitate towards the solo 401k. But apart from that, individuals are allowed to make pre-tax and after-tax contributions in either a self-directed IRA or a solo 401k. The differences are the amounts that they can contribute, which will ultimately impact the individual's taxable income, however much they decide to make as contributions.
Okay. No, thank you for that. So what I'll do for you all, I will put a link in the chat as well. So that way you can contact Joel directly. So that way he knows that you listened to the webinar and that I sent you. If you invest in any type of real estate, regardless if you're using my platform or invest in any other real estate opportunities from other folks. I know someone is actually using their solo 401k through you all for a business purpose.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of different things that I didn't even know that you could use it for. So thank you so much, Joel, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to meet with us
My
and to
pleasure.
share information about your company. And yeah, so we
I,
will see you next time.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Davon. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.